And hi again, everybody. Welcome back to this edition of Sports Talk. Doug Miles and Don Henderson with you as we do our spring training report right now, as that got underway last week with the workouts, and the games started this past weekend. And particularly, we focus on the team teams in our area in Sarasota, Bradenton, particularly the Baltimore Orioles at Ed Smith Stadium. And Don, I know you had a chance to go over to Ed Smith the other day, get the credentials, and kind of walk around, or at least see a little bit of what's going on. But Orioles are off to a pretty good start in spring training. They've won 3 games, only lost 1.
Very good. They got away was a perfect day, first of all, let me say that, on Saturday, and they got a home run in the bottom of the 9th inning to win it 4-3. And then, of course, they had the split squad scheduled yesterday, and they won 1 and lost 1. So you're right. They're 3-1 right now, and again, they have an outstanding young team. They won 101 games last year, and all you do is hope that the young players don't get hampered by that sophomore jinx, that they come back and play the same kind of baseball this year during the course of the season they played last year when they got the 101 wins, and hope with Barnes coming in to lead the pitching staff, the move they made from Milwaukee, that they're in the right position to challenge the Yankees and go right at it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the last few years we were covering the team, they were pretty bad, let's be honest. Buck Showalter was there. He made a little bit of progress, but they were not very good. They didn't have a lot of talent, and then, of course, they got rid of him, brought in Brandon Hyde, and he had a couple of rough years, particularly as a new manager, never managed before. But I tell you, it all came together last year. They did lose in the playoffs right away. They didn't advance. But the Baltimore fans now have a lot of high expectations. That often is a tough thing to come back from. Like you said, they won over 100 games. How do you match that or even beat that this year? Very tough to do that. You got to just get in the playoffs this year and hope that experience last year carries over and you can advance a little bit.
Well, they got the 2 new owners, so obviously there's a lot of anticipation there. They're also saying that with the new ownership, they're going to spend some money, something they didn't do before. They did a great job of scouting and recruiting the players that came up last year. They had, I think at the beginning of the season, or the beginning of spring training, I should say, not the season, they had 8 or 10 players that were either number 1 or number 2 or in the top 10 of players to come into the major leagues. And, of course, Henderson was 1. He won the Rookie of the Year. So they've got a great nucleus just down below that if they don't make it this year, they're going to be on the parent club next year. And so they got a lot of talent there, maybe more talent than the other team, ready to surface right now. And it surfaced a little bit last year with 101 wins, definitely.
Tell you, that whole ownership change was really almost a surprise. I'm sure people maybe in the organization knew what was going on or had inklings. But I tell you, that was kind of all of a sudden. The Angelos family, apparently the father obviously had not been doing well health-wise. The son had been running the team the last few years. But all of a sudden they sold their, I guess, all of it. I'm not sure if they have any interest left in it at all, but the majority owners now, big money guys from what I've read, and they say they're going to spend some money. So that can only be good news if you're an Oriole fan.
Yeah, they're right there in Baltimore. They're, they're not outsiders. They're Baltimore, and I think I said this to you the last time we did the show. I think they got a great deal. You look at what the teams are going for right now, and way up there in the numbers. And I thought they got a great deal. I think it was, $375, something like that.
I think it was $1.75 billion, which sounds like it's a lot of money, but compared to other teams, it's, like you said, it's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a little more than that. But anyway, it doesn't make any difference. Or whatever it was, to me, it just seemed to me like that's one of the deals you'd like to be a part of if you had, 5% or 8% or something like that, if you want to be a partial owner. And get into the baseball wars, I would have thought Baltimore would have been a great buy.
Here it is. I just looked it up. $1.725 billion. That's the
there you are.
That's the price. And then they actually signed a new lease agreement. There was some talk that the Orioles and Camden Yards, which really was one of those first of the new modern old style ballparks, they'd have to either move or refurbish it, but they just signed a lease to stay there another 30 years.
Yep, and they're going to spend a lot of money on the ballpark to refurbish it. They realized that when they got in. as they were going to have to do a lot with the ballpark. A lot's going to be done over the next year or 2 years, and so people are very happy about that. They also brought a new broadcast crew in, which I have to be very honest with you. The lead broadcaster radio is going to be from Toronto.
Toronto, right?
And I wasn't. Yeah, I'm not familiar with them. I'll meet them when we get over there a couple more days. I'll get a chance to meet them, but just somebody that I was unfamiliar with.
It came from the Toronto Blue Jays. Apparently, they made a change at the end of last year, and I think the son of the guy who does the Blue Jays, I just read this not too long ago, Dan Schulman, his son got the job. So a little nepotism up there. That's why this guy got the boot. I think it was Ben John.
Well,
let me look it up, make sure. Ben Wagner's his name. So he had been with
it's always interesting.
The Blue Jays for, 6 years. Before that, he was doing the Blue Jays minor league team in Buffalo.
Well, they say it's there's always some little connection there, and but anyway, as I said, I'm just not familiar with them. We obviously can't hear many of the Toronto broadcasts unless you're on the baseball channel or something like that. But I just haven't really heard any of the broadcasts up in Toronto, so I can't say. But I'll tell you, Toronto's another club that's got to be pretty good. I mean, they've got a lot of talent up there, and you just see whether they can bring that to fruition. Because I don't know, I'm not convinced the Yankees are quite as good as the Post is making them out to be. I mean, Sosa hit a home run yesterday, and 400 and some feet. But that's we'll see what happens. I just don't. I got to see the Yankee pitching stabilize first, and then after they stabilize, I want to see them last out the summer, because they have a bunch of pitchers there that have lasted 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 6 games, and so I want to see what they do before I jump on the Yankee bandwagon. And I think, as I said to you the last time, Boone's got to win this year. I think they got to make a lot of changes.
Yeah, there was a lot of thought last year, coming August, when the Yankees were pretty much out of it, that was going to be it for him. But I guess he had another year or two left on his contract, so they brought him back. You always wonder, why he would want to come back. I mean, it's just so much. He gets paid a ton of money, but I think the thought was he's had enough. He can go take a year off and go somewhere else to manage, but it's going to be one more year, right? At least.
Well, yeah, as you said, he has 1 more year on his contract. I think that was a plus for him. And I also think that Mr. Steinbrenner has been very loyal to Cashman, has been very loyal to Boone. And I think that had a lot to do with it as well. And they were going to give him a shot to turn it around this year and prove that he should stay as Yankee manager. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the Yankees, historically, they do not, like most teams do, if a manager is down or GM is down to 1 year left on their deal, they extend it a year or two just so they're not in that final year. The Yankees don't do that. They let the contracts run out before they resign you.
They did it with Joe Torre, and so a little bit of a controversy at the end of Torre's contract, a little bit of a controversy before Boone came in, and then of course Joe went down to Philadelphia and managed there, and that didn't work out very well. But the Yankees brought it back. He's going to be part of the broadcast team this year.
I read that. Yeah, he's going to go back in the booth. Is it with the Yankees or with the Cubs? I thought it was with the Cubs.
No, with the. Oh, I thought it was with the Yankees.
Yeah, let me check.
I may be wrong.
Let me check real quick. I believe it was the Cubs. Let me see where he's going. But I knew he was going back to the booth here. Oh, you're right. No, you're right. My fault. The Joe Girardi joined Yes Network Yankees analyst. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was, and he. I'll tell you, I thought Joe did a great job when he left Miami and went in the booth in Yankee Stadium, and then he went from the booth down on the field. I thought he did a great job as a manager. He just didn't win a World Series, but they finished very strongly every year that he was managing there. And then it was very controversial again, like it was with Joe Torre at the end, where they're going to rehire him, where they just held him, dangled him on a string there for a long time before they finally, at the end of the year, after a period of time, let him go. I was surprised the way they did it.
Actually, yeah, he was with the Cubs the last 2 years on their TV side. So he's coming from the Cubs to the Yankees. Okay. I thought I'd read that. So he did the Cubs for the last couple of years, TV analyst. Yeah. It is a
Well, he's
manager,
a
Joe
he's a
Girardi, whose legacy, if you want to call that, I don't like that word, but boy, it just unbelievably tarnished with that Philadelphia Phillies. The job just didn't work out, and now people don't even think of Joe Girardi as like a great manager that you'd want now. Maybe not fair, but remember he was the big guy after Miami. They let him go, even though they had a winning record. Went to the Yankees, did well, but goes to Philadelphia, and now he's have to go to the broadcast booth.
You're exactly right. And in Chicago, of course, he's a Chicagoan, and he went to Northwestern to college, and was an outstanding player there as well. So he has real footing in Chicago, in the Chicago area. So and then you said into the booth in Chicago, which is not a surprise. And then I was a little bit surprised that he went back to the Yankees, and he agreed to go back to the S Network. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think he'd like to get one more shot. I'm not sure he's going to get it. It would be a team that he's not going to go get on a winning team. I think if he gets another shot, it'll be a team that is not doing too well, and they decide to bring him in and hope for the best, right? I don't think he's a guy that's going to get the top job if anything opens up.
Well, I think the problem is that, in my view, if I'm Joe Girardi at his age and with his background, if I'm Joe Girardi, I'm not going to take a job with a team that doesn't have a chance to win anything.
No, right.
No, he doesn't want that. And, of course, he had just a bad break in Philadelphia because not only that, but, Thompson went on to take him to the World Series and playoffs.
Made it look worse.
2 years in a 2 years in a row. And it was very comparable to what happened to Jeff Torborg in Miami.
Right.
If you remember, Jeff Torborg was fired in the middle of the season. They weren't doing well. Everybody was upset. And they brought Trader Joe in. And he turned the whole thing around, won the World Series. Exactly the same thing that happened.
Jack McKeon. Right. Trader Jack, yeah. Right.
Yeah, Trader Jack. And just the exact opposite with what happened with Thompson. I mean, he got out of the World Series, but they didn't win. And in McKeon's situation, he took over the World Series and he did win. So it was and then he bailed out. So you never know. But if you're a manager, if you have the background that Joe Girardi has, I don't think you're going to take a team that doesn't have a real good chance to win.
No. Now I'm a little surprised nobody picked up Joe Madden. I think he's got one more job left in him. I mean, Dusty Baker, he's older. He's still managing. He got the job older than Joe is now, I believe, with the Astros. I thought Joe Madden might get a shot this year. Maybe next year, or maybe he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, he does. He wrote a book, I think, and. Yeah, he wrote a book, and Vaughn was really his publicist, the old PR director for
the former Rays PR guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so he did a lot of interviews and so forth and so on, but he really wasn't in demand when it came time because there was a lot of openings this year, but he just never was one that got the call.
And the Angels, I mean, no matter who goes there, Casey Stengel could come back to life and go there. It wouldn't work. It just doesn't. Seems like nothing works there. I mean, they had the two best players in baseball. Not anymore. Ohtani left. They still have Trout, but they can't win with them. So.
Trout he had a press conference on Saturday and covered by AP and all the networks and so forth, saying that he's 32 years old and that he wants to remain with the Angels. He comes back to Philadelphia. He doesn't live in Philadelphia. He lives in South Jersey. In the wintertime, he's a big Eagle fan. He comes to a lot of the Eagle games. Right. But he said that he wants his career to continue with Los Angeles and with the Angels, and he wants to stay there and finish his career there. That he thinks he can have without staying away from injuries, which he hadn't done the last 3 years. If he can stay away from injuries, he thinks he can win another MVP.
Yeah, I guess he has an opportunity. He can go somewhere else if he wants. He got the no trade clause, but if he wanted to, he could. But like you said, he doesn't have no really ambition to go anywhere else, does he?
That's exactly what he said. He said I could probably force a trade, or like so many other players, and say I want to be traded. I want to do this. He said I don't want to do that. He said, 32 years old. I played here in Los Angeles, and this is where I'm going to play. I don't want to go anywhere else. I just want to be healthy and be a major contributor to see if I can't get this team in the playoffs.
Just speaking of managers again, the Angels hired Ron Washington, who had been out of baseball for quite a few years after doing a pretty good job with Texas. Got to the World Series twice, didn't win it, and had some personal problems apparently. I'm not sure, substance abuse, and he talked about it. But I think he was with the Braves organization as a bench coach for a while. But he's actually older than Joe Madden, and he's the manager of the Angels now. So see how he does.
Yeah, he actually was. You're right, with the Braves, and he did have that the personal problems with Texas. He had done a pretty good job there, and unfortunately just made a pretty serious mistake. And he got out of. Then the Braves gave him a chance to come back, and now he's with the Angels. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of what's going on in the world of spring training baseball. Obviously, the games, if you want to win a game, you play, but it really doesn't matter how much or how many games you win in that. You're really just trying to get your pitchers ready, right? You don't put the pitchers out for too many innings at the beginning.
Yep. It's nice to say you won the games, but that doesn't do you any good when the page turns and the season opens up. What you do during spring training doesn't make a darn. You just got to get your players ready and come out of spring training healthy and have a unit that you know is going to be with you for 90% of the year. Always going to have to go back and forth, bringing minor league players up and down and so forth. But I'll tell you, there's been so many teams in the last couple of years that have so many injuries, not only the pitchers, but the regular players. And they have to dip down in AAA or AA and bring, a number of players up and try to keep your focus and keep your team winning and keep your team in the race. And it's hard to do.
Yep. It seems like pitchers just can't go more than, they can't go a full season anymore. You don't see that much anymore, where a pitcher isn't on the DL for a while, right? Just everybody's trying to throw through a brick wall, so they hurt their arms.
Yeah. Well, they said the other day when they're talking, when you start to look now at the Hall of Fame, and you're not going to, because they only, when Steve Carlton was pitching or Robin Robertson, they had 40 starts, 38 starts
every fourth day
a season.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these guys, they pitch 6 innings. So it's going to be very, very tough to pick, Hall of Famers based on what the record's going to be from, I would say, 2 years ago from here on out, because every team does the same thing. They take their pitchers out pretty quickly. And it's going to be interesting to see whether they get one or two that stay for the long haul, say at least 7 innings or 8 innings, to build up some kind of a personal record of not having to leave the game in the 4th or 5th or 6th inning or at 90 pitches or 85 pitches or whatever it may be. Yeah. And that's too bad.
We'll wrap up just a little basketball talk. Of course, I have an interest in. I went to USF, so my alma mater in basketball doing pretty well, Don. I just saw it today as we talk on a Monday, the 26th of February. They actually are 25th in the country. First time they've ever been ranked. Number 25, I'm talking about South Florida. And they have won 13 in a row, and they are well in front. Actually, they have locked it up, the American Athletic Conference. So they're going to be number 1 seed.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know who the new coach is. You mentioned that he came in just before the season started, and as you also said when we were chatting, I wasn't that familiar with the record back through the years. I mean, you and I have covered their football more so than their basketball, right. But we cover Florida State or we cover Florida, but very seldom do we talk much about USF and the basketball or football range as far as winning. So whoever this fella is, and I don't know who it is, but he must be doing a heck of a job. He must have brought some pretty talented players in.
Yeah, Brian Gregory was their coach, long time, about 6-7 years. They got rid of him last year. They brought in Amir Abdur-Rahim. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He was a coach at Kennesaw State. Not exactly a basketball powerhouse, but they brought him in, and they actually did a good job with Kennesaw State. He took them to the tournament I guess the last year he was there. So here's a guy, I think right now, USF better find some money because some other school is going to poach old Coach Rahim just for the great job. 1-year turnaround for the Bulls.
Well, it's amazing that he was able to do that, and I wish him all the luck in the world. I mean, every once in a while you get a team that just all of a sudden blossoms, and he must have had some talented players there, but he must have brought a few in with him. And I'll tell you, the way sports are being run now, it's amazing to me. I mean, you look at what the big coaches around the country. Alabama coach leaves because and Kelly leaves at LSU. He moves from Notre Dame to LSU for the big contract, and I'm going to say I don't know the exact number of years, but I think it was around 9 or 10 years. The contract,
huge contract, yeah.
It was a huge contract. He stayed 2. We saw him here at the Bowl in Tampa for his last game, and he put it on the line. He said one of the players came in and said, "I need $100,000 or I'm going to transfer." And he said, "Where do you think I'm going to get $100,000?" and instead of him transferring, Kelly went to the NFL. So that's the way it is now, boy. I'll tell you, that not good. And the story they had just the other day in the paper now, Congress is going to have to make some kind of a ruling, because what they've done now, they've just messed up all of college football and basketball. No question about it.
I don't see how you can go back now, though. I mean, that's what they want. The players, they keep saying, "We'll pay the players." Well, they're paying the players, but now the coaches, really, you get one season with a player now. It doesn't matter. You can't give them a 4-year scholarship. They go on the transfer portal if the team stinks, and they're gone.
That's the thing. The portal's killing them. I mean, they come to the end of the season and they say, "Look, I'm leaving. I'm going to another team." Well, what kind of teams can you build?
You can't.
If your star players are going to jump out the door and take the portal and go someplace else, you can't do it.
I mean, you're basically doing the free agent recruiting now. Who's the best players on the portal?
Exactly.
You're free agent recruiting now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I ought to put the coach of Colorado in charge of everything. He could straighten it right out.
He did such a good job. I tell you, that first 3 games was fun, but boy, it fell apart, didn't it? Well, he's got one more year left. Because once the 2 sons graduate, I don't think he's going to stay. Why would he want to stay?
We'll see what he does this year. He got a lot of great publicity in those first 3 games. He won both of them, or all 3 of them actually, where he was an underdog.
Oh yeah,
and won all 3. And then from there, he went right downhill.
Yeah, they won one more game, which was basically a patsy game toward the end of the season, and then they did nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And the other thing was that he goes in and he said, "Well, we're going to replace all these." Yeah, well, we have 68 players on this football team. We're going to replace them all.
I saw that when they did a video. I guess he's got his son who videotapes everything, and he said, you all better check out the transfer portal. That was his first meeting. But
I don't think I'd want my son to be a part of that organization.
No, unless you're the coach's son. But yeah, if you're not the coach's son, forget it. You're not safe. But anyway, we had a little go-around of what's going on in baseball and a little bit of basketball. But, Don, I know you're going to probably head out later this week when the Yankees come in, I believe, Saturday. See them, right?
Yeah, we got a few games. Got a couple of switchboard games, and so I'll get over there. I'll get over there tomorrow. I can't go Wednesday, but I will get there tomorrow. Unless it's I haven't got the schedule in front of me, but they have a number of games that are 6 o'clock at night. So that Wednesday might be a 6 o'clock game, but I'm not sure. I have to look at the schedule.
Yeah. And again, I'm kind of helping a relative out here in Arizona, so I won't be able to get to any of the spring training games. I will get back sometime in April, so we'll see you then. But you got to be my eyes there for a while. I can only read about them.
Well, get on back here now that it's warm and the sun shines out. You didn't miss anything in January and February, I'll tell you that.
No. Well, weather's pretty much the same out here. I'm in, for those not aware, I'm in Don's old neck of the woods when he went to spring training, right? Long time ago, here in Tucson, Arizona.
Right.
They're asking about you still, Don. I go around and say, "Don, where's Don Henderson?"
Yeah. Tell me, sitting here in wonderful, beautiful Sarasota. But I just also want to mention that Kucherov got 102 points now, and what a job he's doing this year for the Lightning. I don't know whether they're going to be lucky enough to they'll be in the playoffs. Well, they'll be lucky enough to go all the way. But the Rangers won 10 in a row, which tied a record for 3 times in their history that they've won 10 in a row, but they lost the last one last night to break the string.
Right.
But Kucherov has done a terrific job so far and Vasilevsky didn't even play in that game. He was on the bench, but he's playing great since he came back from his sideburn on the sideline. So we'll get a little bit of all in there. We'll get back to it. We'll do another show, few days, and see if we can't touch on a couple of things.
Yeah, the only thing about the Rangers, though, a few years ago, they did the same thing, had a great regular season. I think they won, had the most points, and then they lost in the first round. So as a Ranger, growing up a Ranger fan, you can't be too excited about a regular season yet.
No, and Boston is still Boston, whether the Bruins or whether the Celtics. Both teams are very, very tough to beat. And especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, you don't get any special. You get a home field ice advantage, but you don't get any buys for winning your, most points. So it doesn't really help you that much.
Exactly.
John, always good to talk to you, and we'll do it again. Thanks for listening, everybody.